So welcome everybody. There's some faces here I don't know. My name's Bodhivajra, if you've not met me before. And I'm going to do a session on the current theme for these classes, which is the golden net. So if you've been coming to Wednesday nights recently, you'll have already heard something at least about the golden net, what that might be. I've got a golden ball of wool here, which I might do something with, I might not. I'll see how it goes. And I also found a golden mala for doing mantras, so it's like a gold, it's all part of the symbolism, I guess, which I'm very much into. Symbols and images I really like, and the sort of more imaginative or poetic approach is a way that appeals to me quite a lot. So just remembered I have some notes here. Whether or not I use them remains to be seen, but I'll start off with them. So yeah, the golden net is something which is kind of meshed together, isn't it? It's I guess made up of a golden thread, such as the ball of wool here. That's what makes it into a net. And the golden thread is what connects us to, we could call it a golden stream of practice. So our practice, our Buddhist practice, whatever that might mean for us, whatever level of experience we're at, our practice is what sustains us or nourishes us or benefits us in some way. So we need to keep connected to that golden net of practice, that golden thread. I'm going to go off at what might seem like a tangent, but hopefully it will come together again. And I'm going to tell you a story from the Zen tradition, which is concerns a teacher called Hakuin, Japanese Buddhist teacher and practitioner. And one day he had a visit from a samurai who is kind of big and powerful looking and fierce and proud and quite sort of overbearing and heavily armed. So he came into Hakuin's temple one day and he said to Hakuin, "Please, can you tell me if heaven and hell exist?" So Hakuin thought about this, and then he started doing something which you might think was the opposite of metta bhavana. He started to really wind this guy up. He started, quite almost insulting him, and accusing him of being really proud and obsessed with his power and his weapons and all this kind of thing, really building it up. And so the samurai started to get a bit uncomfortable and a bit irritated, annoyed, and it built up. And eventually the samurai just lost it completely and unsheathed his sword and rushed at Hakuin with malicious intent, we could say. And at that moment, Hakuin said in a loud voice, "You're about to enter the gates of hell." And so that stopped the samurai in his tracks. And he suddenly realized. And so he backed off, sheathed his sword, and bowed to Hakuin. And Hakuin said to him then, now you're entering the gates of heaven. So in Buddhism, heaven and hell are not objectively existing places. I mean, you might find, if you're very unlucky, you might find yourself in a place which seems like hell, like if you live in Gaza or Ukraine or a place that's ravaged by war, or if you're experiencing some really difficult mental states, you might think that you're in hell. But in Buddhism, heaven and hell are just that, mental states. So they are not fixed or permanent. When we feel in what we call a hellish state, we feel like that's it, we're there forever. We just can't see a way out. But according to Buddhism, well, in fact, never mind according to Buddhism, according to our experience, if we look closely enough, we find that these states of mind don't last forever. And unfortunately, that applies to heaven as well. So we might get into very pleasurable mental states, and we might think, oh, we're in heaven, we've arrived. But actually, a little while later, our experience changes, doesn't it? We all know that. So when the samurai asked Hakuin, do heaven and hell exist? Hakuin just showed him how, in his own experience, he could either choose to enter into a hellish state. If he'd murdered Hakuin, he would have had that on his conscience for however long. But then he completely changed his mind and saw the possibility of entering heaven instead, at least for a time. So this shows us that we have to watch our mental states, doesn't it? We have to notice what's going on in our mind. I've got a little quote here from a William Blake poem, which goes, I give you the end of a golden string. Only wind it into a ball. It will lead you in at heaven's gate. So that's a very direct connection, really, with Sangharakshita's poem, The Four Gifts, which is where this theme of the golden net comes from. So I think the Heaven's Gate in the William Blake poem is probably a Christian reference. So it's very different to the Buddhist idea of heaven and hell, which is, as I've said, is not permanent. But the point is that it's the thread of our practice, the golden thread that keeps our practice alive. But I'm sure we've all had times where we've been right on the edge. We've been on the brink of falling into some pretty dire, let's call it an unwholesome mental state. It might be anger or hatred, such as the samurai experienced. Or it might be that we fall into a severe state of anxiety or depression. But what I've found in my own experience is that through Buddhist practice, through the practice of mindfulness, it's possible to notice what's going on in our experience and to see things coming, as it were, on the horizon, or sometimes the very near horizon. Sometimes it's very close. We see something just in the nick of time. This anger rises up, and we straightway, if we're being mindful, we feel it in the body. We know it's like a fire rising in the body, and we know that if a fire is fed, then it gets bigger and more fierce. So if our anger gets fueled, then it's going to get more intense, turn into hatred, turn into some action that we probably regret later. But if we don't feed the fire, if we don't give it any fuel, then it will just go out. We don't tend to it and it goes out. So the trick is how to catch that mental state at that crucial time of tipping over. And I think maybe this ties in with what I think you heard from Sujana last week. I wasn't here last week, about the gap and how we use that gap to influence what choice we're going to make in the very next moment. And I've certainly had that experience also myself with anxiety and depression. You know, I can see those things coming up because they're very familiar to me. They like, in a way you could say they like lifelong companions because I've known them for that long. But nowadays I see them more as companions. Here they are in my life. I can't fight them away. I can't blow them to smithereens, you know. So when they come up, I say, oh, okay, here we are again. Just come in, invite them into my experience, and that can be okay. I've learned how to live with that without setting up a kind of civil war situation where this mental state is coming up and we're fighting it. We're all just trying to push it away rather than just let it be and let it lose its power by not feeding it with fuel. So the golden threads of practice are mindfulness and metta, which I often think metta, nowadays I think about metta as being part of mindfulness. It's not really separate from mindfulness. We teach separate meditations, mindfulness of breathing and metta bhavana or loving kindness meditation. But the way I see mindfulness now is that it's something which sheds light on our experience. So it is quite literally an enlightening experience. It shows us our experience really clearly. So we have to learn with our mindfulness practice to turn towards our experience and not to turn away from it. Because really our experience and our encounter with our experience through mindfulness gives us everything that we need. It sheds light on our experience. And that is very much what metta does as well, loving kindness. We encourage metta towards ourselves. That means we're being mindful towards ourselves. And then a friend, a neutral person, difficult person, and then all beings. And we do that really by being mindful, by being aware. So this mindfulness, this thread of practice, it's what keeps us connected with ourself, and it keeps us connected with other practitioners, like everyone here. It reminds us of our interconnectedness or our interdependence. You may have heard of Indra's net. It's probably been talked about already in one of these Wednesday sessions. So Indra's net is the Buddhist vision of everything being interconnected and interdependent, and everything reflecting everything else. Which means that no one of us really is a separate island. We may feel separate a lot of the time, but if we learn to practice, then we realize our non-separation. So the golden thread of practice, it's also a direct way into perceiving reality and understanding reality, whatever that might be. It takes a while to discover what that might be. There are specific parts of our experience that we learn to be mindful of. There's a teaching of the Buddhas called the Four Foundations of Mindfulness. And the first one of those is mindfulness of the body, which may be a surprise to some of you if you're new to this, because you might think, oh, Buddhism, yeah, it's all in the mind, isn't it? Where is the mind? Is it up here? Actually, I don't know, where is the mind? So it may be a surprise to hear that the first foundation is the body. And the body is, and it's mindfulness of the body because that is where we immediately know our direct experience in the body. We feel things, don't we, in the body all the time. We're hungry, we feel it in the body. It's not a thought, it's not abstract. So we go and get something to eat, and then when we've eaten, we feel that in the body. That's not something abstract either. So mindfulness of the body, which includes mindfulness of the breath, and that breathing in and out process of breathing, that's very much like another thread, a thread of life, isn't it? Or a golden thread of being, I suppose, or practice. But also with these foundations of mindfulness, we become aware of what's called Vedana. Oh, I think you heard about Vedana last week. I think of Vedana as feeling tone. That's the word I use for it, which means, it doesn't mean are we feeling angry or blissful or emotions like that. It means, is our experience at the moment pleasant or painful or neutral? So that's what we look at. That's where our thread takes us next, from the body into the feeling tone of our experience. And from there it goes into the third foundation, which is the mind, or states of mind, or consciousness. And that means noticing what is present in our experience right now. So if I asked you at this moment, you can just answer this for yourselves, you don't have to tell us all. If I ask you what is present in your mind at the moment, just reflect on that. Could be a whole range of mental states. Could be anxiety or uncertainty. Could be a sense of aliveness or joy. We could be feeling quite energetic or excited or looking forward to something. Could be feeling dull. We could be thinking, this is a really boring talk, when can I go home? We may have some response, whatever's going on in our mind. That's what our present experience is, isn't it? So it's important to learn to not just notice what's present in our mind, but also to accept what is present in our mind. Because there we are, that's what we've got, whether we like it or not. If it's pleasant or painful, there it is. So I think that's an important aspect actually of the first stage of metta, that we turn to our experience, we look to our experience to see what's there, and we learn to accept that. It may be that we sit down to do the metta bhavana and we think, loving kindness, that's the last thing I feel at the moment. I feel this, whatever it might be, irritability maybe. Had a bad day at work, feel really irritable. So let's push that irritability away and let's have some nice loving kindness instead. Well, we know that we can't do that. We cannot push away what's present in our mind. So I think if we learn to acknowledge and accept what's in our mind, then we are actually accepting ourselves. And if we try and push that mental state away that we don't like, then we are rejecting ourselves. Because whoever we are is what our mental state is at the time, just for the time being. It doesn't mean we're permanently like that, we're always like that. It's just how we are for the time being. And if we don't recognize that fully, don't acknowledge that, then we set up a conflict because we're trying to push something away. But if we accept whatever it is, okay, I'm really irritable right now, but I'm not going to fuel that, I'm not going to feed that, make it worse. I'm just going to sit with that for a little while, and I'm going to at the same time keep breathing. And I'm going to, in the words of the Satipatthana Sutta, I'm going to clearly and calmly know that this is my experience right now. And what we'll find is that after doing that for a little while, hey, where's that irritability gone? It seems to have gone. Okay, great. Just experience whatever's there instead. Could be a whole range of things. So what we learn from this is that accepting our experience means accepting ourself, which is loving kindness towards ourself. And it also teaches us that everything changes. Like it or not, everything changes. We may have, we will have particular views about ourself. We might think that we are this way or that way, and we may worry about what other people think about ourselves. Oh, they might see me like this. I don't want that. I mean, I am like that, but I don't want them to see me like that. We have all this stuff going on, don't we, about who we are, who we think we are, and we worry about what other people think we are. We probably find we were quite wrong if we asked someone else. If we asked a good friend, well, how do you see me like this or like that? We probably find that they don't think like that at all. But we have these fixed views. But our direct experience, our mindfulness of our body, our feeling tone, and our mental states is going to teach us very directly that everything changes, including our view of ourself. So if I'm irritable 1 minute and joyful the next minute and depressed a bit later on, and then something else a bit after that, well, how can I say that I'm an irritable person, or I'm a depressed person, or I'm a joyful person? We can't really do that, can we? Not with any sense of permanence. So I wanted to say something about the last stage of the metta bhavana. So when we do the last stage of the metta bhavana, we usually reflect on ourselves and each of the people that we've used so far in the practice, and then we extend that out to all beings. We maybe do that quite gradually, but we aim to extend our loving kindness out to all living beings. But at some point we might think, all living beings? Come on, you're joking. That's a hell of a lot of beings, How can I possibly manage to show metta, give out metta to all living beings? I mean, I don't even know how many there are. There's just countless beings. So how do we do this? Well, there's a way of doing it where we can go around the world geographically. We might start with everyone in this room, everyone in Norwich, everyone in Norfolk, everyone in England, everyone in Europe, then go through the other continents. And so you're gradually trying to go around the world, and you're going through like maybe Albania, Algeria, Australia, Austria, and then you think, hang on a minute, I've left out Albania. I haven't done all beings. And then maybe we get a bit hung up about we haven't included all beings. So we feel that we haven't quite got it. So for this stage of the practice, the last stage, that's where we really need to use our imagination, because we can't possibly, literally speaking, include all beings, can we? We can include the beings that we know, our friends and neutral people and difficult people, but really we can only practically work within the sort of sphere of influence that we find ourselves. But one thing I've noticed, the house where I live, I've lived there for about 5 years now, and it's a quiet suburban street just on the edge of Norwich. But there's a school behind us, a big school. And further down on the same site, there's two other schools for the younger kids, and there's the secondary school right behind us. So every school day at 8:30 in the morning and 3:30 in the afternoon, all beings go straight past my front door. That's what it seems like. There's the pavement is just full of kids and parents, and the road is full of cars dropping off kids, and we try not to go out at 8:30 or 3:30 if we can help it, or come back home because we can't get in. So I'm often aware of that if I do metta practice, in this stage. I think, oh yeah, all these kids going by, and I connect with those kids because there was a time when I was one of those kids. I mean, not literally, because I didn't go to that school, but I was a school kid going to school. And so I imaginatively connect with those kids because I didn't like school, either of my schools, primary or secondary school. It was a pretty horrible time. And I think, oh, maybe some of these kids are going to school and they're not looking forward to it. But then I look at them and I think, some of them look all right. Maybe some of them are looking forward to it and enjoying it, and I hope they are. So I kind of wish them well in this direct sort of way. And then I'm aware that all over the world this is happening. There's a school run everywhere in the world, probably. So there's all these beings going to school. So you can just connect with all the kids, all the parents, all the people going to work at the same time. So we need to find ways of getting the last stage of the metta bhavana to work. So that's just one way that I use, that direct example from just looking out my window or coming up the street, whatever. But there's other things we can do. We need to find our own ways of getting to connect with just the notion of all beings, because it's pretty vast, isn't it? But one thing we need to do is to remember that all beings includes ourself. How could it be otherwise? So it's not me generating metta for all you lot out there and all those over there and everywhere else. There's not really a separation. We have to sort of participate in this this great golden net because we are part of it. So that's what we need to do, participate. So one way of getting into that, which I do, is to become aware of body and breath, my breathing, knowing my in-breath, knowing my out-breath, and then reflecting that all beings, well, at least all beings that breathe, they also are breathing in and out at this moment, whether they're asleep or awake, whatever part of the world they're in. It's a very direct human connection. If we weren't breathing, we'd be dead. So we can connect with all beings in this way. We're all breathing, we're all alive. We're participating in this golden net together. So that's another imaginative way I use in the last stage of the metta bhavana. It is pretty big, isn't it, the last stage? Does anyone here ever find that a bit overwhelming if you think about it, the last stage of the metta? How can you generate metta to all beings? Or maybe you can drift off into some kind of... Actually, you tell me. Would anyone like to say something? Just tell me something about what your experience is like in this last stage of the metta. I'm not looking for a particular answer. I'm just interested to know what your experience might be. Anybody want to say something?
Sometimes I have a tendency to drift off.
Yeah.
Just like a thought anyway.
Yeah.
Kind of lose the connection.
Yeah. Is that because in a way it's a bit too much to engage with?
Visualize it.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah.
very abstract.
Yeah.
And then it becomes more closer to the mindfulness of breathing, as you mentioned
Mm-hmm.
earlier, because it's
Mm.
so abstract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, metta has been described as rational emotion, which might sound like a contradiction, but it maybe demonstrates that emotion and reason are maybe not as separate as we like to think. But also it shows that rationality, reason does come into metta bhavana. You know, we need to think about what we're doing and how we're doing it. It's not just about the feeling, but we need to have connection. I prefer the word connection, really, to feeling or emotion. Anyone else got anything they'd like to share about their experience of the last stage of the metta bhavana?
I would say maybe sometimes I also, because I'm so like really pumping love out to everyone else, like from when you're talking, I'm like, oh, am I giving myself that love as well? You know, because I definitely in the first stage feel that sense of wishing myself well, but also then remembering in the last stage, I am also an all being, I'm also here, so remembering to also, whilst really feeling that love for everyone, also giving it to me as well. I don't know, maybe I have a slight disconnection when I'm giving it to everyone else, and I'm also maybe not.
Disconnection with yourself, you mean? Yeah, that's the tricky thing, isn't it? Keeping in contact with yourself and with the rest of the universe at the same time. Yeah, pretty tall order, yeah. Well, that's why I find, you know, that idea of breathing with everyone else, I find that a very good way in. Yeah, Sinner Duncan.
Sometimes I just try and unhook the metta and just let it flow outwards as far as it will go.
Yeah.
I mean, in the past.
So there's not any particular notion of these beings over here and those beings over there. It's just a flow. Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I might start with a small group of people and direct it to them and then upwards. But I used to do the geographical thing for years actually, but I didn't do that.
Yeah, there's different ways of doing it, this last stage. And as I said earlier, you need to find a way that works for you. You need to notice what's going on in the last stage. You know, are you still connected, or have you lost the connection somewhere?
I think, and also you have to keep being creative.
Yeah.
So what might work for a long time, one day doesn't work.
Oh yeah. You have to change tack every so often, don't you? Because you come up with a method or an idea or a tool or something that works, and you think, oh great, yeah, I've got it now. I know how to do the last stage in the metta bhavana. But after you've done that for maybe a few months or even only a few weeks, the mind sort of starts, I don't know, it sort of plays tricks, and then that method doesn't seem to work anymore. So then, as Sujana says, you need to be creative and find some other way in. But coming back to what you were saying, which I think is interesting, about losing connection with yourself, and also this comes back to the idea of the golden net or of Indra's net, where the image of Indra's net has just countless numbers of jewels, which are reflective. So they all reflect each other, but at the same time they have their own quality. So that's how it is with us. If we see ourselves as part of the golden net or part of Indra's net, then we all reflect each other. So there's aspects of each one of us in everybody else. And I find as I get older, as I practice more, that I realise that I'm more similar to other people than I used to think. I used to think I was, you know, quite different in certain respects. And I do have particular characteristics, but everyone else has their characteristics. But we all live in this this situation, for want of a better word. We all breathe, we all need nourishment. We've got so many things in common. we all fear death. We all want to live. We are all interdependent. We are all connected in that way. So that also is a useful reflection, I think, in the last part of the Metta Bhavana, to reflect that actually we're not as different when it comes down to it as we might initially think. So we've almost run out of time, and I have a bus to catch in a few minutes. So I'm going to stop there. It's almost 9 o'clock. Does anyone know what's happening next week? Who wants to tell us anything? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so do come next week. Similar format. Sarvananda is going to be leading the second half. Okay.